It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's have a little local input. We have our own lefties losing it in this country, including the Labor Party, who in their infinite wisdom decided to elevate a Gen Zer to the Australian Senate. Yes, meet 21-year-old Senator Charlotte Walker.
My name's Charlotte Walker. I'm a senator and I'm 21 years old. This is your sign to drink water, to eat your vegetables, to get a good night's sleep, to slay, and most importantly, to follow me.
Fantastic, Charlotte. You know, just because something is a TikTok trend doesn't mean you have to do it. Let's now go to the world of academia and see how unashamedly racist the University of Minnesota Twin Cities has become. We've got an academic here who appears to have learnt a new word. That word is pandemic, and she decided to use it to condemn white people. Just count how many times she manages to say the word pandemic in less than 30 seconds of this racist rant.
We posit that there is a whiteness pandemic behind the racism pandemic, and that this begins in the family system where young children are socialized into the culture of whiteness within white families. Our first recommendation is to remember that the whiteness pandemic is a pandemic. If you were born and raised in the United States, especially in a white family, then you've been raised in the pandemic, and you can play a role in halting and reversing this pandemic.
I counted 6. What about you? And as always, if you're not comfortable substituting the word black for white in a statement like that, then perhaps rethink saying something so profoundly racist. Now, Hollywood actress Kate Beckinsale, who has been acting a little odd lately, here she is walking her dog wearing a bra and giant platform boots. Well, she's gone on Jimmy Kimmel's awful show to tell this awful story. I'm sorry for what you're about to hear.
2 eggs in a week is what the bright spot was.
Who did?
The boyfriend did.
He laid 2 eggs in a week. Is that a British thing?
Well, no, he's from New Jersey. He's a Jew from New Jersey.
What does that mean, he's laid 2 eggs in a week?
Well, he said, I've laid an egg. And, of course, I was like, OK, trying to pull focus on the cancer operation, you know. But it had a shell and a yolk.
I have no words, nothing. News outlets are reporting that story seriously, including CNN. Let's stick with Hollywood and check out the latest meltdown from the cast of Wicked. It's not just Ariana Grande who is in perpetual tears. Watch here as the stars of the movie all sob together.
It's this crazy realization when everyone's talking. What? I've been listening to you for so long.
Cynthia.
You're the voices I'm listening to. And we get to sit here and do this together. It's really wonderful.
Well, it is for us, too.
You create something that meant that we could have a dream come true.
That's the dream.
They really are quite ridiculous, aren't they? To Pennsylvania now, where the governor has signed a bill banning hair discrimination. Seriously.
We know that this is an issue that disproportionately affects Black Pennsylvanians who wear their hair in protective styles like locks and natural braids or twists. And it can manifest itself in a number of different ways, from someone getting fired simply because of how they look, or maybe someone getting passed over for a job because of the way they wear their hair. That's unacceptable, and in a moment, it will be illegal.
Yes, let's create more laws banning things that are not actually happening. Now, I don't know what Australia did to deserve this, but we've not only had the insufferable Kamala Harris visit the country twice since her failed presidential campaign, now we've got another insufferable whinger, Michelle Obama, making the trip down under. And you can hear her speak about just how awful her life was in the White House, how terrible it was to have a glam squad and be called upon to attend events. The inhumanity, I don't know how that poor woman survived. And for the measly price of $445, you can hear Michelle whinge endlessly about her charmed life. The cheapest tickets to these speaking engagements are $195, a bargain to hear profound musings like this. Here is Michelle in conversation with Jenna Bush.
Say in the book, I kept my hair straight throughout the White House years so it would not be a distraction or a talking point. I knew there was absolutely no way that the first Black First Lady could show up in braids. Was that a hard choice for you?
You know, it wasn't hard because the job was more important than the statement.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that my work spoke before my clothes or the way I showed up in the world, although I knew that the clothes sent a message.
Yes.
Joining me now is author and founder of Wrong Speak Publishing, Adam B. Coleman. Adam, I cannot imagine what sort of sad fool would be paying hundreds of dollars to hear Michelle Obama, who I think has really damaged her brand in recent years by doing so many of these interviews, doing her own podcast, and just endlessly whinging, often about trivial things.
Yeah, I mean, she's still popular amongst a certain sector, especially amongst liberals. They like her for what she represents. They like her. Maybe there are times that she gives some sort of inspirational advice, at least in their eyes. From my perspective, I think that she complains a lot. And I find that she is incredibly disrespectful to her husband and is not necessarily modeling what a good marriage looks like, the way she talks about at least how she used to see him. When she says that she spent 10 years not liking him, that's not really a good example of a strong long-term relationship.
Well, much of the whinging, you're right, has been centred around Barack, and she's complained about everything, including how he chooses food. Now, let's get to the biggest news of the day, the shocking attack on National Guardsmen in DC near the White House. Now, the alleged gunman has been ID'd. He is an Afghan national, Rahmanullah Lakanval, who came to the US in the aftermath of the botched 2021 withdrawal by the Biden administration. Adam, this is being talked about and investigated as a possible terror event.
Yeah, it's still early on. This has just happened a matter of hours ago. And I usually like to say, give it 24 hours, more accurate information will come out. It's incredibly tragic to hear that this happened to our servicemen, especially in our nation's capital, when they are there to help keep that city safe. And while everyone, especially the Democrats, wanted to make this an attempt, they wanted to make the National Guardsmen being there as only being a political show. The reality is that it made the city safer. And even just their presence, even if it looks like, as someone complained online, even if it looks like they're just picking up trash because they don't have anything to do, their presence matters. And regardless, they don't deserve to die because someone is holding some sort of grudge.
Oh, no. I mean, and the crime rate came down dramatically after they went to DC. That's undeniable. And even the mayor admitted that, and she was not in favour of them coming. Obviously, she's a Democrat mayor. Now, the alleged gunman, law enforcement authorities have said he opened fire and struck a female guard in the chest before shooting her in the head. He then fired at and struck the second guard before a third guard rushed to the scene and took him down. Now, this man was given sanctuary in the US after the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. He entered the US under the Operation Allies Welcome program. Adam, it just shocks me that anybody who has been extended that kindness would repay that with this sort of behaviour. He was given a chance at a new life that so many other Afghans would have done anything for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Being an immigrant and a refugee in any country is a privilege, not a right. And so, when you get welcomed to any country, if I go to some country as a refugee or as an immigrant, I should have a little bit of an allegiance to that nation that's given me a chance. But I will say, I have a lot of questions, even though this is early on. I have a lot of questions about the Biden administration actually vetting these people. What was the vetting process? Did they actually look into him and see what did he do? Was he one of those people who were just grabbing at the airplane and just trying to jump on just so they can get out of Afghanistan? But what was this man's ideology? What did he actually believe? What did he do to actually help us? These are things that we don't have the answers to today, but I wouldn't be surprised if we know more about him in a matter of 24 to 48 hours.
Absolutely. And I remember at the time there was a great deal of criticism that these individuals weren't being vetted properly. The vetting was sloppy, sometimes near non-existent. So that was certainly criticism at the time. And you're right, in the coming days, I'm sure we'll find out a lot more. Now, I want to play you this clip from Democrat Elissa Slotkin on ABC. This was just over the weekend, just a few days ago. And here she is scaremongering about National Guardsmen, suggesting they may start shooting at American civilians.
These videos coming out of places like Chicago, it makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground.
Adam, just how reckless has been the rhetoric of Democrats, activists, the media in whipping up hate and fear of law enforcement officers?
They've been incredibly reckless. The reality is that the top two issues that voters care about is safety and the economy, right? And our law enforcement is something that most Americans want to make sure that they have access to and they can call upon. And they want to make sure that their streets are safe. When she is setting up a premise that one day these men might start shooting at, citizens just cause they just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or because Donald Trump rang them and said, start shooting people, as if that's going to be a thing, it's incredibly reckless. It's incredibly dangerous to set up that premise. But I will say, the man who pulled the trigger on these servicemen and women, he is responsible for his actions. What the Democrats are doing is not helping this country whatsoever. And if they keep at this, we cannot be shocked if this happens again with someone who is from stateside, who is following some sort of propaganda nonsense that is coming from the left.
Now, let's end on a lighter note. Here is President Donald Trump pardoning turkeys, a Thanksgiving tradition. But this year, there was a bit of a twist.
He used an auto pen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid, as are the pardons of about every other person that was pardoned other than Where's Hunter?
The president also pardoned two more turkeys. Here is President Trump with a turkey named Gobble.
Are you ready? Gobble. I just want to tell you this, very important. You are hereby unconditionally pardoned.
He really is the funniest president, Adam, and he just adds an extra element to these traditions.
Yeah, it's funny, as someone who used to be a Democrat, when you lose that Trump derangement syndrome, you start seeing him as he's a flawed human being who has a sense of humor, right? He's just like everybody else. And he's an American icon for a reason. He's always had a sense of humor. He's always schmoozed with the right people. He's always lifted people up who are around him. But he's also been bombastic, right? He's a mixed bag. But yes, he is definitely funny, sometimes accidentally funny, and sometimes purposefully funny, but he has a great timing. Absolutely.
His comedic timing is very good. I've got to say it. I've heard comics, very good comics, say his comedic timing is masterful. Adam B. Coleman, always a pleasure. Thanks for your time. Welcome back. Joining me now is celebrity and royal commentator Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, multiple sources have told Page Six that the royal family will travel to the US to celebrate America's 250th birthday. Prince William and Princess Kate will be in America in July, while King Charles and Queen Camilla will travel in April, as long as the King's health is okay. But Kinsey, it looks like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will be iced out. What more can you tell me?
Well, can you blame America for icing them out? Harry and Meghan have spent the last nearly 6 years disrespecting both parties involved here. At one point, they accused the royal family of racism, and Harry once said on a phone call with who he thought was Greta Thunberg that President Trump had blood on his hands. Harry has become allegedly a pot-smoking, pay-for-play royal speaking at a Hilton in Toronto next week, and Meghan is a jamfluencer. Do they belong there, Rita? Do they really belong there?
I don't think so. I love jamfluencer. That is, I'm going to have to use that. I'm stealing that and using it whenever I can, jamfluencer. Now, Meghan Markle has been accused of going full diva. Can you believe this? A jamfluencer going full diva? This was during her Harper's Bazaar cover story that claims she exerted total editorial control. Insiders told Radar Online that Harper's Bazaar caved to Meghan's demands about what should be included in the story. Kinsey, why would they cave into her? Surely she doesn't hold the cards anymore.
Well, I mean, look at how often you and I have never talked about Harper's Bazaar in our lives, and you've been my friend for years now.
True.
So I think that it's pretty significant PR boost for them, positive or negative. But I loved some of these quotes on Radar. One insider saying the running joke in the industry now is that Harper should have credited her as a guest editor, subject, and muse. Her profile piece was so gushing. They continued, the piece is so stomach churning, sycophantic to Meghan. It appears to have her handprints over every line. It seems it was written, then handed over for an edit. It is trite nonsense with zero insight, wit, or anything based in reality. And last but not least, one fashion source moaned, it's like a Hallmark card Meghan has written to herself. And ain't that the truth?
I bet you she has done just that. I wonder if they're going to have a significant boost in sales. It's all well and good to get all this publicity and people talking about you, people perhaps mocking you like we are, but is it going to actually result in more sales, more advertising dollars? We'll watch and see. Now, Katy Perry is demanding $5 million US from an 85-year-old dying disabled veteran over a long-standing property dispute. This housing dispute began back in July 2020 when she was still with ex-Orlando Bloom in California. Kinsey, what can you tell us about this? This is not a good look for Katy Perry.
No, and we've talked about this case before. There are multiple cases, at least two major high-profile legal disputes involving the astronaut and senior citizens. It's appalling. In the mid-2010s, Katy attempted to purchase a former convent in Los Feliz here in LA. It was like a large 8-acre property, and the archdiocese supported the sale, but the nuns that lived there claimed that they had ownership and opposed selling to Katy. Back in March of 2018, while attending a court hearing related to this ongoing dispute, one of the sisters collapsed and died at the courthouse. She was 89 years old. So I think that this is our public service announcement. If you are an old person, God love you, stay away from Katy Perry because she's not good vibes. She's not good luck.
She certainly isn't good vibes. I've been saying that for a long time, well before her little astronaut episode where everyone sort of figured out she was an absolute clown. Now, before you go, our own Robert Irwin has followed in his sister's Bindi's footsteps, winning Dancing with the Stars in the US. This is a huge show in the US. Here's the moment he was announced as the winner.
Robert and Whitney!
And you can see there his mum Terry and also Bindi's reaction. Kinsey, it was a heartwarming moment, and there were quite a few weeks during this series where he brought people to tears.
Right, dedicating, dances to multiple family members. He was injured right before the finale, so people were really concerned about him. But was he ever going to lose? This is a young man who we have known since he was born. We've watched him grow up. We've admired him. One of Prince William's Earthshot ambassadors. He just is absolutely precious. I didn't think for a second he wasn't a shoo-in for that gorgeous trophy. And he's just
Kinsey?
a very charismatic young man.
He is. He is from a very talented family indeed. Kinsey Schofield, thank you so much for your time.